In a neighborhood where order was everything, one woman took rules too far when a pregnant mother was dragged to the ground over a trash bin dispute. No one expected the truth to explode, or that her father was a federal judge. This isn't just a story about an HOA gone rogue. It's about power, fear, and what happens when the quiet finally speak. Stay tuned, because justice was watching from the window. Brookside Heights was the kind of place where things were always in their place. Hedges were trimmed to regulation height. Flags were size approved. Mailboxes came in only 3 finishes. It was a community that prided itself on order, but behind the symmetry and soft greetings lived a tension few wanted to name. I didn't grow up in Brookside, but my sister Rachel lived there temporarily, staying with me while her husband finished a work project abroad. She was 7 months pregnant and tired, glowing in that beautiful, quiet way moms-to-be sometimes are. That afternoon, she was just walking from my door to her car. And then it happened. Linda Beckett, our HOA president, emerged from nowhere like a rule-obsessed ghost in khaki, clipboard in hand, her expression pinched in permanent judgment. She was muttering something about trash bins left near the community garden bins Rachel had never touched. Rachel paused, politely explained, "I didn't place any bins out. I'm just walking to my car. Linda didn't care." She reached out, grabbed Rachel's wrist, and yanked her backward so forcefully that Rachel dropped to one knee. Her hand flew to her stomach in instinctive panic. I heard her cry out from inside the house. I ran outside, heart in my throat. Rachel looked up at me, eyes wide and frightened. Her breath came in quick, shallow gasps. Her back was arched in pain. I turned to Linda. "What the hell are you doing? She's pregnant." Linda didn't flinch. "Being pregnant doesn't give her immunity from community rules," she said coldly. "This is a violation. No apology, no concern, just rules, just power." What Linda didn't know, what she never could have guessed, was who Rachel was, who we were. Rachel's full name is Rachel Monroe, and our father is Judge Samuel Monroe, a federal judge with a long history of defending civil rights and holding institutions accountable. But at that moment, none of that mattered. All I cared about was getting my sister off the concrete. We took her to urgent care. The baby was okay. Rachel had back strain from the impact, and her blood pressure had spiked. I kept holding her hand and promising, "We're going to make this right." My dad doesn't shout. He doesn't react loudly, even when he's furious. When I told him what happened, he went silent for a long time. Then, in his low, steady voice, he said, "Document everything. Names, dates, details. Then, we'll see what kind of justice this neighborhood really respects." The next morning, Rachel got a letter slid under the door. A $200 fine from the HOA. Community disruption. Disorderly conduct. I almost laughed at the absurdity until I saw the look on Rachel's face. She felt small, like this place had turned her into a suspect for simply existing while pregnant. We began reaching out to neighbors. Most were hesitant to get involved. Some even apologized quietly. "I've had my own run-ins with Linda," one woman said, "but she's always just used fines." I didn't know she'd go that far. Then Kiana Ellis called. Kiana was a retired nurse who lived across the street. She'd seen the altercation from her front porch. She was willing to testify. That changed everything. At the next HOA meeting, the community center was packed. Linda walked in like royalty, shoulders back, clipboard in hand. She didn't acknowledge us. The board opened the floor. Rachel stood, visibly nervous but composed. Her voice trembled only once. She grabbed me, without warning, without cause. And she endangered my pregnancy in the process. Linda stood slowly, addressing the board like a school principal disappointed in the class. "I was enforcing order. We've had multiple violations in that area. I acted in the interest of public cleanliness and safety. Then Kiana stood. I watched her pull that young woman to the ground. There was no cause. No confrontation, just aggression. A hush fell over the room. Linda's face tightened. She tried to discredit Kiana. She's new here. Perhaps she doesn't understand how things are handled. But the damage was done. The room had shifted. That night, we filed a police report. Linda was formally charged with misdemeanor assault. Her lawyer called it a misunderstanding. Ours called it what it was, abuse of power. Weeks later, the civil hearing began. Rachel walked into court with her lawyer at her side. Her belly now noticeably rounder. Her steps slower. Our dad sat quietly in the back row. Linda's team tried to paint Rachel as aggressive, emotional, and irrational. But we had medical reports, witness testimony, and a copy of the letter from the HOA calling Rachel's presence a disturbance despite no prior record of complaint. Linda buckled under pressure, her testimony unraveled. The judge ordered the case to proceed. Within days, her lawyer offered a deal: no contest, probation, resignation from the HOA. Rachel accepted. She didn't want vengeance. She wanted peace. Linda's house went on the market shortly after. Rumors said she moved to a stricter community, somewhere her binder might still matter. Brookside Heights changed. The HOA held an emergency vote and elected a new president, a former high school counselor named Jonah Reyes. His first act: eliminate fines for minor aesthetic issues and create a resident-led ethics committee. People started smiling again. Kids played outside without fear of noise citations. The neighborhood started to feel like a community, not a gated kingdom. Rachel gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Hope. Because what we learned through this entire ordeal was that no rule, no regulation, no clipboard-bound power structure is stronger than a person willing to speak the truth and a community ready to listen. Now, when I visit Rachel's new home just outside Brookside, there's a little wooden sign on her porch that says, "Respect lives here." And it does.